gentlemen, the captain has turned off the fasten seatbelt sign, indicating that it is safe to move about the cabin. For your own safety, though, we request that you keep your seatbelt fastened when you're in your seat during this short flight. We'll start our flight beverage service shortly.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, everybody, and here we go again with another fine and wonderful evening. Tonight we got special guest Kate Klassen. Sorry, marbles in my mouth. And for those of you that don't know Kate, she's the owner of Coastal Drones, and she's besides a drone instructor, she used to be a former flight instructor, and currently still holds the ranking of a pilot. So she brings a great deal of knowledge with her. And Caitlin, please carry on, because I know you've got lots more that you can tell us about yourself.
Yeah, well, you covered the important parts, but Coastal Drone is the main gig right now, the one that pays the bills, and then the other things that keep me busy that are related are I have two director positions. One's with the Canadian Owners and Pilots Association, COPA, and then as well I'm with Unmanned Systems Canada. And so they both kind of play similar roles within the respective parts of the aviation industry. COPA's interested in being involved in RPAS as well, but definitely has more of the manned aviation background, and then USC is obviously unmanned. So within USC, I'm the one that does a lot of the training projects. So when things come up related to training, I try and stay involved with that sort of thing. And lately, when things have come up with cities that are implementing some wonky drone laws, maybe ones that don't abide by the federal regulations, and I've started being kind of the person to stir things up with city officials and bylaw officers and that sort of thing. So that's all the fun stuff.
It's interesting. Doug is our second member from the aviation industry. So Doug also worked in aviation. So
yes.
Care to explain, Doug?
Structural AME with larger, well, actually a smaller airline here in Calgary. So we do a lot of the at our AMO, a lot of heavy C and D checks, a lot of pressurized aircraft, the CRJ 700s, 900s.
Nice.
We're actually the largest Dash 8 and CRJ owner in North America right now. So lots of flights over in Africa, some in Europe, a lot of stuff in North America, even up to Fort McMurray.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of it is just strictly leasing, but we do have a lot of sales too.
Gotcha. That's interesting. My I'm looking at a model of the Q400 right now because my husband was flying those for a little while.
Oh, who with?
He was with Jazz at that point. He's with AC now. Well,
okay.
Hopefully with AC for a little bit longer.
Yeah, I was at Air Canada for 3.5 years here in Calgary at their heavy maintenance department.
Wonderful.
So
I'm sure if we talk long enough, we'd figure out who we both know.
Yeah, probably.
It's like that small world.
Yeah.
So on our main topic tonight, we're going to talk about situational awareness, and it's quite a interesting topic because a lot of people aren't aware of what it actually means and just how important it is for when you're flying a drone, or actually any aircraft for that matter. Am I right, Caitlin?
Yep, absolutely.
And I'm just going to pop up this little slide here, and this is more what I wanted people to see is situational awareness is basically the perception of the environmental elements and events with respect to time or space, and the comprehension of the meaning and the projection of their future status. So what does that mean for us as drone pilots? Let's start off with pretty much the most obvious meaning, and that is is the weather good to fly? Like, did you happen to check the weather before you decided to head out? When you've got on site, did you do a site survey? Do you know what your hazards are? And do you know the shape of your equipment? Is it going to be satisfactory for the flight that you're planning? And anybody else want to add to that?
Have you made sure that your batteries are fully charged? Have you
No.
showed up with fully charged batteries?
Yeah.
We've
Remember
all
to
seen
take
that
them off
before.
the charger, and then
We've all seen that before when we've gone for a group fly, that one guy has not charged his batteries and shows up with a dead drone.
oh no. When I did a flight instructor refresher course a number of years ago, and there was an ex-snowbird pilot that was there talking about situational awareness, and he just kind of surveyed and said, "What do you guys think about situational awareness? What does it mean to you?" And for me as an instructor, seeing it, it was I said it's predicting the future. It's having the knowledge and the awareness and kind of pulling in all of these features to be able to say, like, I know how this is going to play out, and explaining to people too that it's not a thing that's unique to aviation. You have situational awareness for things that you're really experienced in. So it's driving a car, you have situational awareness, you know, that starts raining and people, you know, that people might start slowing down, or that motorcyclist that you saw is going to be, you know, avoiding the painted lines, that kind of thing. But like as a flight instructor, I could be 10 miles away from the airport out in the practice area and say, okay, it's time to head back to my student, and could tell you if they'd be high on approach or not based on when they started doing things. And that's situational awareness. You understand how the events that are currently happening are going to play out into the future.
Mm-hmm. Trying to stay ahead of the game before you get in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A week and a half ago, we had a little incident that one of our group flies, and I won't mention any names so that we don't embarrass the gentleman, but let's just say that he lost his drone. And I attribute that to situational awareness. And just my thing is, when I go on site, I do my site survey. And this way, if I dwell too much on the screen, I still know where I am, because I'm familiar with, from the site survey, what I'm looking at. And probably the biggest lesson that I like to try and tell people, if you lose your situational awareness while you're flying, stop. Don't do anything. Yep. Just let your drone hover, regain, use the tools that are available to you, either just visual line of sight, your map that's available to you, your your camera. You know, what does your camera see? Like, if you have to, spin it around the full 360, get your bearings again, and carry on. Next.
That's exactly it. That's what you need to do, for sure. Probably save 80% crashes.
When we walked into that, when we had our group fly 2 weeks ago, Lauren, as soon as I walked in, I did a quick look around, got like where that creek was coming out, the rock wall, tried to look for like a specific high tree, something around I could always keep my reference points with, like even if it was high enough, looking for the highway behind us. Then I'd always know, like, if I did lose track of where I was at, I could stop, go straight up, and I could still get my bearings and be able to make it back.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like having that awareness of what's around you for those landmarks. And then also, like I said, like stop, hover, like slow down the situation if you have that choice, because you don't want to be making quick inputs because you're nervous and you're trying to, I want to see where my drone is again, or understand how it's oriented or something like that. And then you make the wrong input. You think you're going left, but the drone's facing you and it goes right into a tree or something like that. And so if you can,
that's pretty much what happened.
Yeah, and it will not the first time, and it won't be the last time that something like that happens. So, when you have a situation like that, especially if you, like a trick that I have used a few times, if you lose how the aircraft is oriented relative to you, especially with something where it's not super obvious, like it's very symmetrical. If you do like yaw and roll in the same direction, you end up with this really tight turn. So you don't end up like you end up moving a little bit laterally, which helps your eyes pick up how the aircraft is moving. But you don't end up moving laterally a whole lot, whereas you might head into a tree, and that can help you figure out which direction the drone's facing, and then you can yaw it appropriately. And then one thing that I try and impress on people is to always fly like you're in the pilot seat, especially when you're coming back in for landing. So keep it oriented so that it's facing away from you. You're both looking in the same direction, so that if there's a quick input that needs to be made, a dog runs in or a kid comes up behind you or something like that, you can make the immediate kind of gut instinct to move up and get away from that situation.
Yeah.
I remember hearing that we did that DJI Learn to Fly pilot day out at the golf course when Lonnie and Lauren were at, and that's the one thing he told us is always to come in backwards, so your controls are always like not reversed for you, and you can make quick movements if you have to.
And if it's not something where you can physically change the orientation of the drone, change how your body's oriented. Like spin your body so that you're facing the same direction as the drone. You can still keep an eye on it over your shoulder, but at least then you have that, like your thumbs are in the same direction as the way that the drone's moving.
Yes.
Also, just kind of a side thing that that I do quite often. A lot of people they ballpark or guess their RTH height, and I find that can be kind of problematic, shall we say?
Disappointing if it's not right.
Well, not just because you might run into something, but a lot of people will set it right at max altitude, which isn't always the best, because if you're doing a return to home because you got low battery, that's extra juice you're going to use. And if you're flying something like the Mini, you want your altitude fairly low so that you're not getting the higher winds at altitude. Correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
And one thing I found is kind of neat is just to go up and have a look around, do a full 360 until you can see over everything. Have a look at your altitude, and then set your return to home while you're in flight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just,
why not?
Yeah.
Pretty foolproof.
The drone is the tool to measure the height. Yeah.
I'm just trying to find a picture here on the internet, but unfortunately it won't let me bring it up. So it was, nope, can't do it. Darn. Oh, well. No, I was just going to say, because using the DJI Fly app, they've added that new thing that shows both the direction of the drone away from you as well as its orientation, which provided you're more than 20 or 30 feet away, it's pretty accurate. If you're in close, a lot of guys say, well, it's not accurate. Well, when you're that close, no, of course not. But yeah. Anything more on situational awareness? Come on.
I think you covered
one
the
thing
basics.
that definitely one thing that I want to plug with this, because I've had it come up a few times lately, so it's like top of mind kind of pet peeve level when it comes to some of the things that you mentioned with the importance of doing a site survey to develop situational awareness. And that's also just the importance of having procedure that you do every single time that you fly. Transport has mandated that with site survey, normal and emergency procedures, but making that something that even if it's like, I'm just going to go pop it up in the backyard for a few minutes, it's certain steps that you're going through every single time for the site survey for your normal procedures so that you build that muscle memory. And then you'll start to get those gut feelings when something's not quite right. Even if it wasn't, if it's not quite there yet, you're like, oh, yeah, like it's just not feeling it. Like, what is it? And it'll like spidey sense trigger for you. And you'd be like, yeah, those trees, the leaves up there are blowing like quite a bit more than what I'm seeing down here and what I'm feeling down here. That's probably what I'm thinking of. So I think the importance of having those SOP and have it being something that you're practicing on a regular basis with your basic certificate before you come to a flight review. Please don't make your flight review the first time that you've gone through your checklist. I was trying to be subtle about it, but that's like, I've seen it like 3 times in the last few weeks. So yeah, like it should be something that like, this is a practice procedure. This is something that and that's going to make you a better pilot. Those are things that you can do that aren't thumbstick skills that are going to make you a better pilot.
The only problem is if people get into the repetition, it's a good thing, but sometimes they get complacent, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to make sure that you're not doing it just for the sake of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Look at it this way: you're doing it to save your drone and save your wallet.
Yeah.
A basic pre-flight check.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it can be a flow, but then you have your checklist that you go through afterwards, and you're like, yeah, I did that. Yeah, I did that. Yeah, I did that. Oh, I forgot to do that one thing. Then you can go do it and come back. Mm-hmm. Whatever you find that works. I'm not going to be picky over how you run a checklist, but it should be something that feels familiar and comfortable when you want to get it to a familiarity and comfortable point.
Oh, absolutely. Not only that, but if you do it, then when something isn't right, right away, just like you were saying,
Yeah.
if it's not right, then you pick up on a lot sooner if you're doing it on a regular basis.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
So where is your favorite place to fly?
For me?
Yeah.
I don't want to give away all my good spots out here. We're really lucky that where our office is like, I'm going to say within 200 meters of the edge of a control zone. Mm-hmm. So we're just outside Class C. So it works out nicely because we can just go out in the parking lot or in the empty lot next to us and do some flying. We do our flight reviews there.
Yeah.
My boss also has a really nice property that is in a control zone, so it's a little bit more coordination to make it happen, but that's a fun spot. Out here, there are a lot of bylaws. I'm in the Vancouver area, and a lot of the cities around here have municipal bylaws that prevent drone use in parks, so it is tough to find a place to fly if you don't have private property that you can get access to. There's a couple of MAC airfields which have limited drone use, like multi-rotor use. They tend to kind of restrict the number of multi-rotor only pilots that they have on their sites. But I'll give away one kind of sneaky spot. It is a CYA, so it's Class F, but it's advisory. But it's right up at the south end of Pitt Lake. It's an area that's used for flight training, so there is low-level aircraft, there is float planes over the river, but it's so gorgeous. It's like you've got mountains, you've got lake, you've got marsh, you've got like low-use pedestrian areas, there's roadways, it's a really nice area. I like air as well. I've kind of cheated a few times because we have a sister company to Coastal Drone, which is Sky Helicopters. So if they end up with an extra seat, then I'll often hop in. Not often. When they let me, I'll hop in with a drone and get a few shots when we land. And the other passengers think it's cool, but then all the other passengers want to bring their drones, and they're like, "No, it's not quite. It's not how this works."
Yeah, you take them where you can get them, eh?
Exactly. Yeah. But we've had some cool scenic shots around here because it takes 5 minutes from Pitt Meadows to be in the mountains with snow caps and that sort of thing.
Yeah, we're not quite so bad off here either. Basically you go one direction, you're out in the fields. Yeah. You head the other direction, you're in the mountains. And
best of both worlds.
Yep. What's your favorite place, Lonnie?
I think McLean Creek is probably one of my favorites. It's got the little rocky ledge, lots of trees, river right there, and it's 35 minutes from my door, so it's pretty close. McKinnon Flats is also a nice place too. Kind of this very similar, right? It's got the rocky ledge and the river and lots of trees, and there's some fields there too with that old tractor sitting there. So, yeah, and I think that's where we're going to be flying next Sunday.
Yeah, we need to get out flying this weekend because it's looking pretty good forecast. But
I got a new one to break in.
There's a typical rule around here, Caitlin, is if you don't like the weather, stick around for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes, I have heard this. Yeah. Lonnie, did you say you got a new drone?
I did.
What'd you pick up?
The Air 2.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So, yeah. Did all my setup and everything last night, and it's got the license plate on it today, so it's good to go.
Woohoo! Big day.
Yeah.
Trying to find the freaking picture that I want. Anyway, how about you, Doug? What's your favorite?
I'm going to have to go with the same as Lonnie. That McLean Creek, Bragg Creek location we did 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago. That was fantastic, and to be able to fly there 44 minutes from my door, Lonnie, to be where they filmed a river runs through it, north of 60, and a couple other movies. That's been a location for movie sets. So to be able to fly there, that's amazing. With that creek was really amazing to go up into, to go up the river and then come back down and around and to be over top of that highway and then back in again. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
I know even people from Calgary and from work were like, I had posted that on my Facebook and like, where was that location? I said, oh, just like half hour from Calgary. And they're like, where? So I kind of mentioned roughly, like said Bragg Creek. I didn't say exactly where it was at. And I said, just go out and take a look and you'll be at one of those spots.
Nobody likes to talk about their honey holes.
No.
Not only that, that's why we fly drones, right? You get up there 50, 100 feet and the perspective is so different. Yeah. They drove by that 1,000 times and you see it from the air like that. You don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go the opposite direction because although I like those, it's a little bit different. I love flying around Drumheller. Getting into all the colors there, I'm a photography guy, so I like the unique colors and stuff like that. And when you get all the different shades of dirt, for lack of a better term, but you get all those different shades of the walls when the sun comes at the right spot, and then you got the river that runs through there. It's really unique and with the formations and stuff. So I kind of like that one as well. I love the mountains, but the only way I could like it better is if we could actually fly in parks. Unfortunately, till that day comes, we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard spot. But
yeah, that's what we're fortunate where we live at, is to have those many locations to be within 2 hours. Like Lauren says, we're in Drumheller, 2 hours away. We're in the mountains. An hour in between. We're in the middle of the grain fields of Western Canada that make some great shots. So we're very fortunate with where we're at.
Yeah.
Alouette Parks, which is, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you can go with Lonnie sometime up to that waterfall just north of, was that Burnt Timber up there you were at, where you got that waterfall at?
The waterfall?
Yeah, you have a picture on your Facebook with a waterfall, and you took your drone up there.
Camping weekend.
I don't remember waterfall, but sure.
I'll screenshot it and send it to you.
Yeah, screenshot it, send it to me. For the last 5 years that we've done weekend trips looking for waterfalls, and so I've seen a lot of them in the last 5 years.
Yeah. We'll ask Sandra; she'll know.
She'll probably know. Yeah, she remembers everything, especially if I did something wrong.
For better or for worse. Yeah.
It's usually for the worst for me.
I was just got sent something on Instagram maybe half an hour ago from my neighbor, Alouette Parks, which is like local here. They put up this Mavic Mini that was crashed, and they found it in the park. So it's yeah, they posted about that. So yeah, people are doing it, but then everyone in the comments is talking about how you shouldn't be flying drones in parks, and this is what the process is. So yeah.
And here's an example of what I was talking about. For this is from Drumheller, right? And you've got everything from the greens, the browns, the blues, stuff like that. So that's kind of why I like around Drumheller, and especially like if you get into some of those good spots where the not the official hoodoos are, but other places. I've got a few hunting holes there where you can kind of fly in amongst the hoodoos, and it's nice low level flights, but when you do those, it just makes those things look huge, you know. So perspective.
Yeah, totally. Oops. And is that where there's a lot of fossil deposits as well?
Yep.
The Drumheller?
Yeah.
Well, they've got
Maybe
the
come across.
The Royal Trail Museum.
Yeah.
Dinosaur Museum there. It's really big.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the world's largest dinosaur museum, I think is what they claim. So, yeah, interesting place. We used to go there every year. So, we used to do our May long weekend campouts there because everybody else used to head to the mountains and come back with the pictures of the snow on their tents, and I'd come back with a sunburn. So,
Excellent.
So, anyways, we're just about done our time. We only do a half-hour show, Kate, so you're not on the hook for too long.
No problem at all.
I'd like to thank you for stopping in, and if you've got anything further you would like to add or want to say, now's the time to do it.
No, I'm really hoping that I'm able to make it out to Calgary and can come to one of the fly-ins. I'm lucky because my husband's with an airline. I can do that for like fairly cheap, so it's not totally out of the realm of possibilities for us to make a trip out. But I'm also like halfway through a pregnancy, so got to get the timing right to do it before I get too far along. But once COVID's done as well, so it'll be a bit of a balancing act. But yeah, if anyone ends up out my way in Vancouver, please get in touch because it'd be great to connect and can show some of the flying spots around here, and you can get some other stuff, other types of footage too.
Oh, I'd love to do that sometime. So,
and maybe go flying in the plane too. That's an option as well.
Long time since I've flown a plane, I'll tell you. 2 hours short to get my privates. So.
Oh well, we can take care of that.
No, that's many moons ago. So I don't even know anything anymore. Things have changed so much. I actually learned
riding a bike.
Well, I learned to fly in Air Cadets. That's how long ago that was. So,
gotcha.
Yeah, but at Penhold, if you know where that is.
Yes, I don't remember why I know that, but yeah, that sounds very familiar.
Just outside of Red Deer. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have family in Red Deer. That's why.
So, anyway, Lonnie, any closing remarks?
No, thank you everybody for joining. Hope you got a little bit of knowledge out of this show. That's what it's all about.
And Doug?
Keep your prop side up.
Hey, that doesn't work on the M300 now because the props aren't on the top anymore.
That's right. Creates more lift, put them underneath.
There you
Put
go.
an asterisk. Depends on what you're flying.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you again for joining in, and hopefully you come back and join us again sometime. And
love to.
In the meantime and in between time.